in development at the moment with more than 23,000 developers that are developing those simulations and gaming projects. As far as this smart city offering goes, I would like to draw another parallel. And I'm not sure if the participants are familiar with a concept called digital twin. Digital twin is basically was basically developed by GE in about 15 years ago, and this concept is based on creating next to the real, for example, we take a turbine or an engine or any kind of process. Next to that, we create a virtual process. We start experimenting in virtual process, trying to make the real thing more efficient. So, and then when we got to that point, then we can implement this in real life in that project. So it's basically a low-cost simulation environment that allows you to improve, hugely improve the efficiency and the functionality of the real thing. We, with our MMO platform, we can take this concept just from a simple or a single object or a single process. We can take this to a full citywide level, where you might have millions of people, millions of cars, also lots of different sensors and data being collected from those sensors, being fed into the model and displayed in real time or close to real time for both the city managers to look and manage through these tools and have a better insight what is happening with their own city. On top of it, a lot of this data will be open data. So this data will allow for creation of additional applications and additional simulations that would provide commercial opportunities for external developers. So there'll be open APIs where whether you are an application developer or you are a developer of a specific AI solution, that would give you an opportunity using that data to create different services based on the platform and sell those services internally to the users of the platform. Obviously, the platform itself is going to collect huge amounts of data. This data, if you take a next step, then based on this data, you can build predictive models. Out of predictive models, you start understanding better the behavior of different processes and systems within the city. And by applying AI, you can then start building scenarios and saying, really, how, for example, do I improve efficiency of use of resources in my city? How do I decrease the noise in my city? How do I decrease CO2 emissions in the city? And in addition to this, so your AI platform or different AI solutions would allow you to create this. In terms of what you can also use the platform for, you can take, like in the gaming environment, what we can do is we can create a number, what we call, of instances. So after creating the first virtual world, that virtual world will live in parallel with city, and by creating those different instances, which means different copies of this world, one can run different scenarios, whether, as we mentioned, this would be emergency services type of scenario, evacuation scenarios. One can do it both on the citywide level or an area level, or even as we have discussed during the conference, do it for an airport, for example, or for a larger public event, or for a train station. So a lot of these opportunities that are offered will be driven from the huge amount of data and the capabilities that we have with our technology that provides the simulation layer to the whole platform. I hope I did not overload too much with technical information here, but please tell me what's the next step. We can obviously go into many details about how the system is already working and how it's going to interact with future AI solutions as well.
Yes, you can run the presentation, and then there will be probably some questions and answers also. And we have plenty of time today, 1 hour. So feel free, take your time.
Okay, so let me go into this first slide. And on this slide, you will see there are a couple of mentionings of either Hyperledger or blockchain or smart contracts with Ethereum logo. They are really placeholders as far as the actual underlying technology is concerned. But let me explain this slide first. So what you see on the blue background, that's basically HeroEngine. Apart from just one little colored icon at the bottom right, idea of what's an AI simulation. So everything that we are providing is basically a very complex system that allows for highly scalable simulations. And when I say highly scalable, we can host not millions of objects, but we can host millions of objects with thousands of data nodes attached to every object. And that we can do in real time. So we're really talking about billions of nodes that can be hosted on the platform and then given to the users of the platform. When you look at how then this system is going to interact with the other systems that are connected to it or integrated into it, on one side we have the IoT external data services. So that's basically all the sensors that are currently being deployed by large cities, whether we are taking Dubai, Singapore, Toronto, Barcelona, Amsterdam, any city that is currently deploying those sensors would be able to get that data and plug that data directly through a shared database directly into the engine for further visualization. The number of these services is normally very large, not only in the amount of data that we collect, but also in the number of individual providers. So, for example, we are now in discussions with Dubai, and the head of, so the chief data scientist told me that they have more than 200 data providers currently that are feeding data into this common database that they would like to use for the visualization of their city. In order for us to be able to, first of all, properly identify the providers, secondly, make sure that the data that they are sending to us is immutable, for that we are going to use blockchain. Whether it will be Hyperledger or any other, IOTA or any other blockchain technology, this will depend on one side on how quickly those technologies are developing, and also on which technology is currently being preferred by specific cities, because Dubai is very advanced in development of their own blockchain technology, Singapore as well, but there are other cities that, like Barcelona, they don't really want to or care as far as the choice of technology. They just want to make sure that it's working. So for those purposes, we kept the platform relatively open, and as far as we are concerned, it's really a pipe that allows us to make sure that the data that comes into the system is properly identified and it hasn't been tampered with. So this whole IoT external data services is as we know, there are conferences that are bringing hundreds of thousands of people together worldwide that are focusing specifically on this. And based on all our discussions, there is no city today that actually has a proper way of visualizing all those different networks. Currently, in majority of cases, you have a Google map looking type of map on which you have dots that are those sensors where you can click and see what's happening with the data. We have drawn here a satellite as far as the connection is concerned, and today we are in discussion with a company called Skywatch out of Canada. This company is one of the leaders worldwide in collecting satellite data. And as there is some satellite data that is being updated once a day, once a week, and there is some satellite data that has a higher update frequency. For that is a very interesting from our point of view, that's a very interesting data source, because that would provide a much wider understanding and view what is happening with our planet, especially if we were to look, take a much broader view on the planet itself, and thinking about global warming and other types of scenarios. And that actually leads me to one interesting point, as one of the discussions that we are having is with environmental agency in Abu Dhabi, where they are monitoring today an area which is about 350 kilometers by 100 kilometers. So it's a very large area. They have scanned it, and they are planning to visualize it and monitor and manage it in real time. So we are discussing it with them, and primary focus obviously is on the ecological and environment protection issues. So that's a satellite piece. There is one important, obviously, part of the whole conversation is how the private data is going to be managed, and that's a big discussion everywhere in the world. Nobody wants to have a big brother-like scenario or Skynet type of scenario. So we are looking to create a very transparent, smart contract-based relationship with the providers of this data. Currently, we are running discussions with the second largest operator in Canada called TELUS. This operator has about 30% market share in Canada, and they are ready to provide us with almost real time. So it's updated every 15 seconds, basically as quickly as your mobile. As often as your mobile checks in with the tower, we can get this location data from them. They are totally obfuscating the identity of the people, so the only thing we have is a data point in the space, basically, that we then place the data point on a map, and then we start simulating different city-wide initiatives, whether it is transportation organization initiatives or other types of initiatives. For example, if there is a large event like, I don't know, Olympic Games, or in Dubai, we're talking with Dubai Expo. These guys are expecting more than 35, I think, million people that will visit Dubai during this period of time, or in 2000, that will be in 2020, and then there will be also in 2022 in Qatar. We are having early discussions with the organizers of the World Cup, because that's, again, will be a huge event that the country has never hosted before. So they want to be able to simulate how they're going to host this people. And then, last but not least, but very important layer, is this whole layer that is surrounded by dotted line, and this is the simulation layer that is going to be included as part of the platform. Currently, our simulation capabilities are primarily focused on the gaming type of simulations. Many of those simulations could be applied or extended, but we are actually looking to open up the platform to different AI providers. And there are lots of initiatives, as we know, around the world. EU has announced that they want to be the leader in AI. Japan has announced they want to be a leader in AI. China did not announce, but they are becoming a leader in AI. And obviously, Canada could not stand by, and they announced that they will be the leader of AI. They have established an institute called Vector Institute, and we are closely collaborating with them. Through government and private initiatives, Canada has funded more than 200 AI startups in the last 3 years. And that's only Canadian startups. So we are having discussions with many of these startups through the Vector Institute to make sure that our platform is open and the data that is on the platform is open to these AI solutions for them to develop either different services or solutions that they can sell directly through the platform. So, and last piece that we have here, bottom right, micro nano transactions, tokens, and coins. That's probably the most important piece as far as the whole virtual economy or the 3D economy that is going to be developed in this digital twin. All the transactions, whether it is people that are giving up their private data in exchange for a certain compensation, or external providers of data that are going to be paid for data, or the different services that are going to be overlaid on top of a larger digital twin model, all of that economy is going to be based on an internal currency, which will be the token.
Yeah. So no, not any questions yet. If there are questions, I will let you know.
Okay. So let me go further. So I don't want to scare anybody, but that's basically our architecture. This is obviously every block here has a huge piece of architecture behind each one of them in majority of cases. Just to give you a quick overview what HeroEngine is, we have been in development since 2001, and we started licensing technology in 2005. This was the first license that we sold to Electronic Arts, and then further on, the game called Star Wars: The Old Republic was released. That is based on HeroEngine. A year later, we licensed technology to Bethesda. So under EA, this was the BioWare studio. Under ZeniMax, it was a studio called Bethesda, and Bethesda has licensed the HeroEngine to develop a game, a very popular game today called The Elder Scrolls Online, with their latest release called Morrowind. That's also a HeroEngine-based game. We are proud to say that the last two large-scale MMOs that have been released in these years in the US specifically, they have used HeroEngine technology, and we're really in this space. We are unique in terms of the offering. There are no other technologies that allow to build MMO games from the start. We have made a huge investment, obviously, over these years. More than $20 million have been invested in the technology development itself. The technology is really, really big and deep. So we are, as you can imagine, we are running a very large client-server type of architecture that is currently cloud-based architecture. More than 6.5 million of lines of C++ code that actually enables this. That's excluding all the web apps that we have that are sitting on top of it to manage different accounts, to manage all the different games and payment platforms and so on. And then I would like to stop on and highlight one very important and unique characteristic of our technology. Excuse me. My throat is a bit dry.
That's okay. It's very interesting.
So the unique piece of and the characteristic of our technology is the real-time collaborative environment. Currently, there are no environments available that allow you to do this full real-time online collaboration. And Jan Robert, I don't know if you would like to run this YouTube video that we have. It's only a 5-minute video, but it actually gives a great introduction and a visual introduction of how it works.
Yes, I will try to start the video. So people, I will put the video on YouTube, and I hope that there is also noise sound. And if it's okay for you, I will run the video.
Introducing HeroEngine, a real-time, interactive software framework used for the development and management of virtual worlds, simulation, and massive multiplayer online games. With HeroEngine comes the Hero Cloud platform. It includes everything professionals and indie teams need from start to finish. Client-server infrastructure, a complete database, and a fully integrated tool suite with real-time integration for developers. This allows for instant collaborative design by an unlimited number of developers simultaneously, with no need for nightly builds. Here are 4 developers working on the creation of a single area in the virtual environment. Each developer has been assigned different tasks. Patrick is laying down roadways and basic gameplay layout. Serene is integrating and placing buildings and other assets in the world. Reggie has imported and is placing custom-made non-player characters, while Kelly is creating the character pathing and handling miscellaneous technical design. These developers are based in different corners of the United States, all working simultaneously in HeroCloud. All developers are able to design, implement, and modify each other's work instantly. They can even switch between developer and player modes to test the virtual world as it is being developed.
Can you hear me?
Of course. Yes, we hear you.
One thing is that if you look at the top right corner, you can see the buildings appearing there.
In addition, programmers can simultaneously create and apply code while development takes place in real time.
Is building. He can see it in real time there. Every one of them can see it.
Not only does the HeroCloud provide real-time design and development, but the platform also allows for direct oversight, management, and modification of all projects from any location. This is particularly useful for outsourced or remotely developed projects. The HeroEngine provides scalable architecture, which is designed for the development of any online multi-user environment, using a single application for multiple different purposes. Reversioning is built into the system, along with many other valuable tools used for the development of simulations, training areas, or massive multiplayer online games. With this kind of real-time control, virtual development is faster, more streamlined, and easier to modify than ever before. What once took days, if not weeks, can now be accomplished in a matter of hours using the HeroCloud platform. And now, after only 3 hours of collaborative work, this is the end result. We believe that HeroEngine and HeroCloud provide the right set of tools for your projects.
Okay, Alex, the first impression of the people. I will ask a question. People, which impression you have of this video? What do you think of? Case Rato says, funny character with swords, looking only for gaming.
Yes,
he thought, no, wait, he thought it was only for gaming, but it's also for serious stuff, question mark. You can answer that question soon. I will wait a few seconds for others. What do you think is the very good advantage of this platform? Apart from that, you can simulate in real time, virtual real time, a city, an airport. We'll come up to this soon. Okay. Anyone else? Maybe some good answer. What can you do with this? I will give you an example if I can break in now. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, in freezing cold, we were in the building of Schiphol, in the office. We had to evacuate. 500 people were standing outside in the cold. That is nothing for the people, but when you think of financial terms, it costs a lot of money to shut down all the offices because just a fire alarm practice. Now think another thing. We are here in Schiphol, the base, Regis. There is, Schiphol has, for instance, 4 stages, 4 divisions. Suppose that they want to simulate a terrorist act. What do they have to do? They have to shut down the airport for half or 1/4. Direct cost is, of course, people cannot fly. Indirect costs also, the shops have to be closed, all the people have to be evacuated. You cannot simulate in real time. Real time, you can simulate, but it costs a lot of money. This airport, for instance, if they say, okay, Alex, can you construct Schiphol for me in real time? Can you do that, Alex? Can you construct
Yes,
the Schiphol airport?
yes, definitely.
So what mean? So, for instance, a fire alarm or terrorist act practice for an airport, how much will it cost, you think? Do you have an idea?
First of all, it will depend on the scale, obviously. So not every airport is the same size and scale. Schiphol obviously is one of the largest airports in the world. So it will probably, I would say the actual development will probably cost around $1 million just to put the infrastructure together. And then after this, to start connecting all additional services, and this needs a little further assessment. We have, to give you an example that directly relates to this, we are working with York University here in Toronto, and specifically with their department that is called Disaster and Emergency Services Department. This department works with Air Canada and the Toronto airport called Pearson Airport. And their specific need is really to create the simulated environment, because every year they have to shut down the airport at least for a day, or a very large piece of the terminal for a day, in order to run those simulations, to train their people. As we know well, majority of people that work at the airport do not have it's not a specific career choice, let's put it this way. Lots of them are doing temporary work, lots of them are, there is a lot of rotation happening. So there is a need for consistent training of these people. You cannot just cover this with one day. But the local regulators are actually demanding this, and they need, they are obliged to run those type of real-time, call them, and real-life simulations. But in order for them to prepare themselves better, in order for them to run those simulations in an environment where they can also make mistakes, the mistakes in virtual environment cost nothing. The mistakes in real environment can be very costly. To give you an example of the lady, her name is Rosa, she is running smart city initiatives in Barcelona. They told me, her team told me that they do not approve more than 90% of proposals that are focused on traffic regulations, management, and other things. And the reason for this is very simple. They simply do not know what kind of impact this will have on the rest of the city. In order to do this, they need to have a model where they can play with, where they can run different scenarios and say, hey, if we were to insert a bicycle lane in this specific area, this is going to create a total havoc on the parallel street, because all the cars will be pushed there. So there are so many decisions that are not being taken for very, very simple reason. They simply do not know what kind of impact this is going to have. So providing this level of simulation, not only for training of first responders, with York University, there is a program called ADERSIM, which is Advanced Recovery and Rapid Response Simulation. This program is funded by Ontario Research, and that's from the province of Ontario. These guys would like to make sure that they understand how they will function together if a quick event happens in the financial center of Toronto. And as you know, Toronto is number 2 after New York in as far as the financial center is concerned on the East Coast. In North America, it's hugely important, the safety and security of this. So we are now in the planning stages of a prototype which will simulate a critical event in the center of Toronto with thousands of potential victims, and how the all the first responders in real time in this virtual environment that totally corresponds in size and time and everything else will be able to use this environment to train themselves all the way from the epicenter of the event to the hospital. And there are now additional discussions with the university called Ryerson down here in Toronto. They train nurses. So there is a huge need for what is called in North America triage nurse training. It's basically a nurse at the emergency department that decides who gets treated first. So it's a life or death type of decisions, and they are extremely important. But thankfully, those events don't happen that often. But if they do, these nurses have to be ready. So there are two actually colleges that we are talking about. One is the Yale University Medical College in the U.S., and the second one is with Ryerson here in Canada and in Toronto, because these are critical professions for our safety, security, health, and so on. So there is basically, I can give examples of hundreds of different types of potential applications. I see somebody is commenting about gaming characters. Yes, because the platform is primarily used, 95% of projects that we have are at the moment are gaming projects, and actually those characters that we see, they are just our developers that like those characters as the building blocks. But obviously one can insert any kind of character in the gaming environment, whether it is a policeman looking character or a simple civilian looking character. It's not a problem. Let me add one more thing as far as simulation is concerned of critical objects. We have been approached by a nuclear power station, and they basically said, look, it's a new construction, and they basically would like to take that new development that they have and put it into a virtual environment and simulate evacuation. As we all understand, nuclear power stations are critical infrastructure in environments, and in order for them to constantly train people, and from our internal discussions with them, we know that people are trained almost on a daily basis. They are tested every 5 to 6 weeks. They run tests. Those kind of tests, obviously, on one side take time. On the other side, they do not allow full engagement and simulation of a critical event. By having this nuclear power plant modeled within our environment, we can put the whole of 2,000 or whatever employees that are working on this specific plant and let them run different scenarios of evacuations. So that is doable, basically. And you cannot put really a price on it. We know this from a pure technical and development point of view. It's not a huge investment, but at the same time, to make sure, and I think everybody, it's not just the people that are running those facilities, but everybody who even lives around this and who provides all the different supports and services and all the civilians that are there, we have the right to know that these people are fully trained and do their job properly, and secondly, we care for the safety and security of our families. And the next project I would like to talk about is what we are now in discussions with here in Ontario, is to create a currently under, sorry, let me take a step back. Currently under the most recent guidelines as far as monitoring of safety and security of nuclear power stations, they are planning to create concentric circles of different sensors around nuclear power stations. So let's say it will be 1 kilometer, 5, 10, 100 kilometer radius of those concentric circles with different sensors that will provide reading of the environment. That type of information currently, if it's there, it is sitting more or less in just databases. We can provide a full 3D environment that will allow for, first of all, providing a full road layout where policemen can practice and train. Let's say if we can include weather into it, because there are also different weather effects that can affect the how fast if there was a nuclear event, how fast this thing is going to spread, whether it's the wind or the humidity or the cloud cover, all those things that can be modeled, and this information can be fed into HeroEngine platform and then provided as far as the guidance for the local forces, because as far as the response time is concerned, there is not enough time for the local authorities to respond. And in the majority of cases, people who are inside the station, they are well trained, but people who live outside, whether it's a police force or it's emergency services, medical emergency services, and the others, until something bad happens, they are not really involved. And we have seen this happen time and time again in different places. What we can do, it's you're talking about the scale. We can create this real-time environment, allow policemen, for example, to practice and say, okay, if the wind is blowing north, we need to evacuate this segment of people. How do we create green light to make sure that they're out of this first zone of evacuation, and then start practicing each one of those directions in all the time they have. Hopefully it never happens, but if it does, they have a rule book of what to do. What we can do in addition to this is that we can take, in the world there are some, I don't know, 500 to 600 nuclear power stations. We can create basically a global map of this, because it's not a lot of real-time data that is, and it's not fed really in real time. Those sensors might provide data reading every hour or every 15 minutes, but we can actually give a globe to whether it's the International Atomic Agency or any other of the agencies on the country level, and they can simply just have that running in the background on one side being used by local first responders to train themselves, but on the other side actually being able to monitor different environments and raise the alarm as soon as something happens. So that's where we are.
Yeah, and but if you take a look at the financial part, is that I think that the governments, for sure in the United States, they're willing to pay up for safety and security of the people. And nowadays, with all the terrorist acts in the world, how can they, the cities, for instance, guard them or to be prepared? You cannot practice these kind of things in real life, and this, I think, there's very big potential for this project to do this in 3D and also real life. It's a virtual reality what you're using in the technology, and so you can, as a government or a local authority, you can also train, if I'm right, to do the worst disasters, but which you could not do that in real time. And if you take a look, if there's a one-off investment of your platform, and of course HeroEngine is licensing, there's a kind of revenue stream model for it, of course, but if you put it together for the government, it wants to spend something, but it's not only one time. They spend something, of course, and then revenues are coming in for Hero. to maintain the system also in the future. That, for instance, there is a yearly contract, but also the simulation is not static. It's a living organism that's coming. This virtual reality coming to.
What is it called in English? You hit the nail on the head directly. What is unique to the platform, and this, as we mentioned, this unique real-time development environment, what it allows you to do is the following. Not only that, you can develop faster because you can bring people from anywhere in the world. Basically, majority of those 23,000 developers that we have today on the platform, many of them would share some time or spare some time to help to develop if there was enough basically resources for us to bring them in. That's number one. We can we can develop explosively fast, if I can say it this way. On top of it, this real-time environment allows you to, when you have developed something, you can continuously add additional functionality. We're not talking only about maintenance of this, because real-time data is coming into it, and the model is a living model. It's not a static model, right? That's number one. But number two, you can, for example, there are no cities that do not develop. And as we mentioned, whether it is a new traffic layout or it is a new area that is being built in some of the new cities like Dubai, or extended areas, or totally rebuilt areas like China or in the US. Sometimes they just wipe out some areas and they just rebuild those areas. That can be done in real time without stopping the actual real-time model running. And that's not possible there is no technology today in the market that would do it. It's only HeroEngine that allows you, just because of that real-time environment. So not only that you are able to develop it fast, and you saw, actually in the video it says what used to take days and weeks, but I can tell you, if you were to develop an environment like this using alternative technologies, whether it's Unreal or Unity, as far as the game development technologies are concerned, you might spend actually months trying to integrate the massive scalability into it. So server integration can take months, and still you run a technology risk that you will not be able to do it. Here you have everything already ready. On top of it, in majority of, anybody who is listening to us or will listen to us, if they play games, they know when a new game comes out, or the new update or patch on a specific game that they are playing, they have to basically reinstall it or install a new patch. They need to get out of the game, and they need to reinstall the patch and then go back into it, sign in, and start playing. HeroEngine allows you to do this without ever stopping. So from the moment that, more or less, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but from the moment you start developing the game, to the moment or a simulation, to the moment when you decide to pull the plug on it and you say, okay, I'm done, I'm moving on to something else, that gaming environment is always live. Obviously, it rotates from being in development to being in testing to being in real simulation, but it's always live, 24/7, 360 days a year, or 65. So that's a unique feature that basically is critical specifically for this type of applications. Because if you are just running a simulation for an airport, you can put it on, run those simulations, train people, and so on, then switch it off, go back, do your job, and then a month later, when you have new people, you can run it again. With managing smart cities, you need real-time feedback, real-time collaboration, and that's what exactly HeroEngine allows you to do.
Yeah, and Alex, if I may ask a question, how about the blockchain technology? Where is the blockchain technology kicking in? Do you need blockchain technology?
Yes, so blockchain technology is extremely important in this model, and I'll go back to this previous slide, because in order for us to make sure that, first of all, there will be, as I mentioned, chief data scientist of Dubai told me that they do have, and we had, last time I was in Dubai, we had a 3-hour conversation with him, running through all the different types of data that they have, and how can many of these pieces of data or streams of data could be used in the simulation. And we have even highlighted an area for anybody who has been to Dubai and knows the area. There is a very well-known area called Dubai Marina, and that's the first area that we are planning to actually simulate for Dubai. They only in Dubai, and that's not a large, obviously, city or country comparing to many others around the world, they have more than 200 data providers. In order for us to make sure that, first of all, we know who we're talking to, so we need blockchain to identify those sources and continuously make sure that data that is coming from them is clean data, hasn't been tampered with. So there is immutability on one side. There is also the other side of it, which is creating a record of events that have happened. Not only analysis or for the audit. So that's the one part of blockchain technology use. And the second most, I would say, even more important from general acceptance point of view is the smart contract infrastructure. Because imagine, having to deal with with millions of contributors of data, which are all of us. We are all carrying a smart device. You might decide to provide only your location data. I might decide actually to provide more data, and that more additional data, for example, about my exercise routines or whatnot, then allow me to get a better deal for my health insurance, or would allow me also to use this for would allow city officials to use this for city planning if they see a young and growing from demographic point of view, young and growing and very active population specific area. They might think about building a stadium. If they see it's a young family type of interests and data that you are getting, and it's all not only about demographic data and the activities that are happening, but also it's real-time data as far as movement of people and vehicles is concerned. So that's where smart contracts come into play, because managing each one of them and managing the diversity that you can have, managing the micro, or we call them nano payments and transactions. That's something that we are used to do within gaming environments, because we are used to play with gaming gold, silver, and any kind of stones, and then have microtransactions based on that. But for real-time environment and for administration of that, that will be a nightmare if we did not include the smart contracts infrastructure into it.
Okay, and are you also planning to issue an ICO soon in 2018? And when will it be, more or less? When will the time map will be? What is the timeline?
The time frame today looks like it's January, closer to the end of January rather than the beginning. Because first of all, there are a couple of conferences, like you probably know, there is one in Dubai on the 9th, and that's number one. And secondly, we are actually working, and maybe I'll tell you, a couple of examples of what we are working on, and explain. Then you will understand. We're pretty busy on the business side. So currently we are on the NDA level stage with 3 cities. That's Dubai, Doha in Qatar, right? And then Barcelona. On top of it, we already signed an NDA and memorandum of understanding with Kazakhstan as a country, so specifically for Astana, their capital city, for simulation of a specific area, with a company with a fund that is a government fund called Tech Garden. These guys are basically responsible for implementation and funding of different technology initiatives for the country. And because they have the World Expo, they're actually going to use that World Expo infrastructure for the next.
Okay.
Expansion.
Okay. And do you have a kind of website where we can pre-register for information or whitelisting? If you put it on top, on the bottom, left bottom, then would be good. And
yes.
In the meantime, what is the value of the token? The economization of the token. What is the economic value of it?
So for registration, please use my direct Alex at HeroEngine.com.
Okay. With reference to CryptoAcademy, yeah?
Yes, exactly. With reference to CryptoAcademy, please use that. Currently, the plan is, if you go back to our website and and check out the white paper. You will see the pricing that is built into that model, just follow the There is a lot of information also regarding what we have been talking about, although without the additional updates, the real business updates that we have. By the way, just one last thing on the business side. Last week I met with a company called Sidewalk Labs. It's a Google or Alphabet owned company. They have won a project in Toronto, which is a sidewalk, it's a waterfront Toronto project. That they're working with the government to redevelop a huge industrial area that has been sitting dead for the last years, right next to the financial center. And they have only 10 months to build a prototype. So their technology team, their urban planning team, and their simulation team was very interested. And I flew down to New York last Friday to meet with them and to discuss how they can use and implement our technology to speed up the development of their site. So anyway, so that's where we stand on the business development side, and that's why it has been a little bit of a slow push on the ICO itself. The reasons are really, we are simply too busy with two things. One is our continuous 24/7 involvement on running the cloud. On the other side is obviously the business development that we're doing.
Okay, and please, can you also keep us informed? We have direct communication, of course, that we can pass through to our fans, our members of CryptoAcademy. And I would like to add something also to Keizer Router, his comment about the video, the 5 minutes video. That was a very clear video, but I think you could cut it in half about the development side, but also the other 2.5 minutes, put some use cases in via environment practices or terrorist acts practices for cities. Also for us as investors, also for consumers, that you can see what is the advantage, the benefits of HeroEngine world. I see a very lot potential for it, and if people are allowing me, I would like to say something last 5 minutes about the 20th of January. We have an ICO, but we've heard that you will be in a blockchain conference at the end of January, if I'm right. Also in the near future, after that, we can keep in contact, and if it would be great if you could join one event of us in the near future, and if there's an interest, of course, from other people also, if they say we would like to see Alex as well. And we then also, with the new developments, we will keep you updated, and it can be in a conference, of course, but also with webinars. And if you hang on for a few minutes, if you want, Alex, I will explain something in English, no, in Dutch, for the last couple of minutes. And I will open the presentation if it's there. Yes. And we switch to the initial coin offerings ICO's. Iedereen bedankt voor de attentie natuurlijk. En tot slot wil ik jullie nog attenderen op onze ICO-dag op 20 januari, zaterdag in Bunnik. En wie vond er een waardevol webinar? Niet allemaal tegelijk natuurlijk. Nee, dan zoek ik even de juiste slide op. Wat we dan precies gaan doen. Ja, Kees, top. Leuk, Hans. Even kijken hoor, wat gaan we doen? Wat gaan we doen? Dat is deze, even kijken hoor. De juiste slide natuurlijk bij doen. Deze. Ja, Hans Bal, ook super. Jean-Paul de Rudder, ja, was oké, top. Nou, Alex Shalash, om heel kort te gaan, dat is dus een CEO en co-founder van HeroEngine World. En ik zie op zich wel de praktische toepassing ervan. Ook financieel, dat je als je dus ICO's aan meedoet in de pre-sales fase, dan zit je op de eerste rij. In tegenstelling tot IPO's nu in de westerse wereld met aandelenemissies, dan zit je als particuliere belegger meestal achteraan de rij. Dan komen eerst de grote jongens en nu kun je meedoen. Nou, we houden in ieder geval Alex goed in de gaten en ik beloof jullie dat we hem vaker in het webinar zullen betrekken. En ik hoop dat hij een keer in een sessie komt van een ICO-seminar. Wij organiseren een uniek 20 januari seminar over ICO's. Dan, als je daarheen gaat, alle ins en outs over ICO's zie je dan. En dan leren we je ook hoe je ICO's beoordeelt aan de hand van een checklist van ons. Hoe ga je valkuilen omzeilen? Hoe kun je deelnemen aan ICO's? Want je krijgt ook van ons een stukje ethers in de portefeuille, in de wallet. En er zijn in ieder geval 4 CEO's aanwezig. We hebben 3 al gestrikt en de 4e zijn we nog mee aan de slag. Alex, die kon helaas niet. Maar hoe je een gespreide ICO-portefeuille opbouwt, is natuurlijk heel belangrijk. En natuurlijk, de ICO-paneldiscussie. We hebben nog een aantal deskundigen die kijken vanuit de investeringshoek. Hoe kun je dus meedoen met een ICO? Wat zijn de pitfalls? Wat zijn eigenlijk de criteria waar je op gaat inzetten? Ik kan me een tipje van de sluier oplichten aan de hand van David Pillar. David Siegel van Pillar. PLR, zoek hem maar op. Die is voor 9 cent naar de markt gegaan volgens mij. En op een gegeven moment hebben we dus deze week voor 32 cent verkocht. Dus een mooi rendement gemaakt. We hebben helaas niet alles verkocht, maar goed. Wat David Siegel ook zei. Die zei namelijk, zorg dat je als je gaat investeren, een deel van je belegd vermogen of beschikbaar vermogen in ICO's doet. En daarvan dat je een stuk of 20 tot 30 ICO'tjes meedoet. Dus niet alles op één paard zetten. Niet te denken, dit wordt hem. Ga het spreiden. Nou, wat bieden we eigenlijk aan 20 januari? Voor €247 in plaats van €397 zit je dus vooraan. In Bunnik is dat. En dan krijg je daarvoor terug ook ongeveer €60 aan tokens. En van ons krijg je nog 20% extra. In ethers krijg je dan voor de eerste 7 minuten deelnemers. Hè, dus straks komt er zo'n pop-up, kun je inschrijven. En alleen voor de eerste 7 deelnemers die dan inschrijven, die krijgen dan 20% meer dan normaal. En wat krijg je eigenlijk ook een extra ICO-evaluatieseminar voor de eerste 12 deelnemers. Dus mocht je een van de eerste zijn, dan zullen we ook aan de hand van het ICO-seminar nog 4 of 5 weken later een speciaal seminar houden over evaluatie. Wij doen bijvoorbeeld met de dingen mee, met ICO's, misschien jezelf dus ook. En je kunt dus ook meet and greet doen met de CEO's en we houden gewoon de vinger aan de pols. Je krijgt ook van ons een CryptoAcademy ICO checklist. En natuurlijk uiteraard een premium lidmaatschap cadeau van CryptoAcademy van 1 maand. En nogmaals, normaal gesproken is het €397 en nu slechts €247 inclusief BTW. Dat dan ook weer. En dat is in Bunnik vlakbij Utrecht, de hele dag van 9 uur tot 5:30. Een zeer verzorgde dag, inclusief drinken, natuurlijk een lunch en een victoryborrel. En dus dat is wat ik nog even kwijt wil. Ik zal zo even iets laten zien. Een inschrijfformulier. Inschrijven, ICO, seminar. Zal ik die eens even inschrijven. Meer info. Dan ga ik voor de eerste komende 7 minuten ga ik dat displayen. Dus bovenin in het midden zie je dus inschrijven ICO seminar, meer info. Dan 7 minuten loopt de klok en dan is het voor jullie dus zaak om, is het interessant? Ja, het is een investering. Natuurlijk, het is een tijdsinvestering, maar als ik jou vertel dat wij met een aantal ICO'tjes mee hebben gedaan, en dan kan ik toch even de gelegenheid te baat nemen. We hebben een aantal ICO's mee gedaan en die had ik ook ertussen gezet. Dat wij, dit zijn ze. We hebben hem met Pillar meegedaan, dus van David Siegel, 220%. We hebben ook voor Electroneum ingeschreven, 1285%. Crypto20, dat is een heel leuke propositie. Die komt binnenkort op de markt, hoop ik. 180% bijna. En Guts tickets, waar Jochem Meijer ook in hangt. Die met een blockchain technologie de ticket services wil disrupten. Geen zwarte handel meer in kaartjes. Fair value prijzen. Heb op ingetekend. En er loopt nog. Althans, het is afgesloten. Maar dat komt binnenkort ook op de markt. En I will switch into English, of course. Alex, I heard a very loud virtual applause for you. And Hans Bas said, thanks Alex for your time. And the people said that was very clear, and they're looking forward to meet you maybe in real time, real life, or maybe in the virtual environment via webinar. And let's keep in touch, of course, for your developments. I'm very curious. We will read the white paper, and if there's also bonuses for the early investors, just let us know.
Yes.
And we will see each other again soon, of course. And everybody who wants to participate, 20th of January, there is an ICO event, and hopefully maybe also in future with Alex also in the house.
Yes,
yes.
to, if not for this, as I mentioned to you, if not for the Techstars presentation that I'm leading on the 19th here in Toronto, then I would definitely come around to make a presentation and to go further in discussions. I really appreciate the time that everybody has given, and for to you specifically for the organization of this. Yes.
Of course. And do you have maybe an idea when you will be around in Europe, maybe? Which area, or you don't know yet?
For now, I'm not sure. Most probably it will be early February. So
Early February,
that's currently the schedule that I have.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and your presentation. First, was very impressive. Thank you very much, Alex, and wish you good Christmas days there in Canada. And everybody else also.
Everyone too. Thank you.
Of course, good luck, and see you next time. And everybody else also have a nice weekend and also Easter. And you know, cryptos never sleep. I think that the Christmas times are a little bit an annoying hiccup maybe for some, but it can also be a nice time for relax. So Alex, we talk to each other later, and thanks very much, and have a good evening, good afternoon, and also everybody good luck. See you next time. Ciao.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.